I'm excited to get started with you. So today, I want to jump right into your exit readiness. And this is about where are you now? This is really kicking off with what I call baseline, because there are two things that we really need to understand and you need to get very clear on during this journey. Number one, what are your goals and aspirations? We call that the great outcome. What is it that you're trying to achieve with your business and in your life? So number one, goals and aspirations. Number two, where are you now? So what's the current state or baseline of where you are with your business today? Those are the two things that we need to understand. Now, I want to talk about the entrepreneur's journey because to a large extent, we are all on a very similar journey together. No matter what type of business you're building, no matter where you are in the world, we're all on this entrepreneur's journey together. And I've always used the mountain as a metaphor for the entrepreneur's journey. The reason I love it is because at the top of the mountain that we're trying to climb, the path that we're taking on this journey, is where you can find your goals and your dreams and your aspirations. These are the things that we're choosing to pursue by taking this path. They're things like the wealth that we're hoping to generate, or maybe it's the income that we need to have so we can live the type of life that we want. Or for me, one of the big things was, how can I design a life of freedom, either because I don't need to work or have to work, or I've literally designed it into the way I've built my companies. The experiences that you want to have, those bucket list things that you should never delay, you need to make that part of your goals and journey. And then for many of us, it's also impact, things that you want to do in the world. So we have these aspirations at the top of the mountain. But one key challenge is we often don't know exactly where we are today on that ascent. Because once we know where we are now and we have those clear goals at the top of the mountain, we can begin to reverse engineer and start to close the gaps on how do we get from where we are today to those goals, dreams, and aspirations. So we have these big 5 stages and steps that we have to go through. But again, most entrepreneurs aren't really clear on where they are today, and that's critical for us to understand. Now, the other thing that I think is important just to say early on is that beautiful mountain is not the reality for a lot of entrepreneurs. The reality often feels pretty different. The journey that you're on can be dark and ugly, and a lot of times it's challenging, right? It's not as smooth and pretty as walking in the sun through the flowers. So before we go much further, I actually want to share a few what I would call unfortunate things about the typical entrepreneur's journey, because you might be able to relate to these, and to some degree, if you're not facing them now, there's a really good chance that you're going to face some or many of these things as you're on the journey. Now, for some of you, this might feel like I'm throwing cold water in your face or outright punching you in the nose, and we'll talk about some of the good things in a moment, but I think it's important to share some of the realities. So listen to some of these things, let them sink in, and see if you can relate to some of the things that are very common on the entrepreneur's journey. Number one, scale, something most entrepreneurs talk about, is actually really rare. Only 1% of all companies on earth ever achieve $10 million in revenue. A lot of people would say 10 million isn't even scale, but 1%, regardless of geography or industry, 1% ever reach $10 million in revenue. So it's actually pretty rare. And as you scale, margins often decline. So if you're at 6 figures or even 7 figures and you're building your business saying it's tough, it's tight now, but it's going to get better, we're finally going to be able to make more money when we get to the next level, margins often decline as you scale. And in many cases, you're overwhelmed as an entrepreneur, so you hire more people, but your workload doesn't decrease. You're not giving away things, and oftentimes your workload increases. Now you're doing work and you're managing other people. Another real tragedy for so many entrepreneurs is scale, even if and when you achieve it, doesn't equal personal wealth. So much of the value that you are creating is locked and tied up in the business. The cash has to be reinvested. The net worth that you see on paper is not sitting in your bank account. So the valuations may be going from 6 figures to 7 figures to 8 figures or multiple 8 figures or even 9 figures, but many entrepreneurs are not able to take significant money out of their business, even if their business is worth 20, 30, 40, $50 million. And this one is particularly important for what we're going to talk about. Statistically speaking, you are not actually likely to exit, even though it's 80-something% of all entrepreneurs want to sell their business one day. Only about 1 out of every 5 companies that are trying to exit, those that have literally entered a process, hired a banker, listed a business for sale, only about 20% of those that are taking those steps ever close a deal. And then maybe more tragically, a very small percent, low single digit, that do sell, so of that 20%, actually maximize value. Many leave life-changing money on the table. And then last but not least, time is your enemy. And you're going to hear me say this more and more and more. AI is only going to make this worse. I believe that we are in a window of opportunity where you can create an exit, where you can create these options, but I think that window is going to compress, and then we're really all going to be waiting to see what happens. Now, a few other quick current state assumptions that are very pervasive among entrepreneurs. You believe your business's value is based on financials. We'll talk a lot about this, but your revenue, you're thinking, oh, someone's going to pay me 5 times EBITDA, 8 times EBITDA, my cash flow, my revenue, my margin. Those are things that you think are what your value is really based on. And you may want to sell in the future, so you're thinking, I'm going to deal with that when things slow down. It's not a priority now, so I don't need to worry about getting ready to exit. You may have also even had some inbound inquiries or interest. People sending you an email saying, I'd love to buy your business. Would you consider selling it? So you think you're going to have the ability to find these buyers when the time is right. And then most tragically, so many of us think we just have time. We're heads down now, but once we get through this month or this quarter or this year, we'll really be able to focus on things differently. The reality of those thoughts is this basically means 90% of entrepreneurs get stuck in the grind. They get stuck with low exit potential and traditional valuations in terms of how what they've created is valued. So this means change is really important if you want to defy the odds that are so clearly stacked against you. All those odds that we talked about in terms of so few companies reaching scale, 1%, so few entrepreneurs ever being able to exit, less than 20%, that much less having a life-changing transaction. If you want to defy those odds, you have to do things very differently. Now, I want to tell you some good news, right? So I just punched you in the nose. These are some of the unfortunate realities. Maybe you can relate to some of those. Maybe you're feeling some of those. And the good news is you can really, truly defy the odds. There's some examples right here of companies. Microsoft purchases Yammer for over $1 billion. It was at 40 times revenue, not EBITDA, revenue. Yahoo purchases Tumblr, again, over $1 billion, 85 times revenue. Google purchases a single division of Motorola for over $12 billion, or one of the most famous case studied acquisitions of all time. Facebook purchases WhatsApp for $19 billion. At the time of the acquisition, there was little revenue, very few employees. So these are companies that are not only defying the odds, but doing it in a really dramatic way. So they're basically moving from kind of despair, desperation, to incredible outcomes, right? So what is it that these companies are able to do to not only defy the odds, but to do it in such a dramatic fashion where they can literally move from that unfortunate set of statistics and realities to life-changing outcomes? The answer is they leveraged one of the 4 critical shifts that we're going to teach you in this 5-week journey. And these are things that you can start doing right away, moving from average entrepreneurs where the odds are stacked against you to an entrepreneur who owns your future and can defy the odds that trap so many people. So that's what we're going to be doing. So what I need from you today and this week is, on the journey, we have to establish your baseline, your current state, and some of your goals. These are your key steps and exercises this week to make sure that we're getting started on the right foot. So I'm going to share with you, and you'll see links to 3 exercises. Now this is going to take a few hours in total, so just set aside time to ensure that you're giving them the full attention that they deserve. You've heard the saying, garbage in, garbage out. If you just quickly do this and you try to move forward, you're really not going to have a full, clear picture on where you are today, your current state, and also tragically what your actual goals and dreams are. So there are 3 exercises you're going to see. The Exit Readiness Score, or ERS score, is something that we created to just get a sense of what do you have in place currently. It's really important when you do this exercise to answer it based on where you are right now, not where you hope to be, not what you're working on, not where you'd like to be, but what is your current situation? And it tells us a little bit about your exit readiness. It doesn't matter if you have a low score, that's the work that we do, but you just want to get a real good picture of what does that exit readiness score look like today, because it's critical for baseline evaluation. Second exercise, very fast, simple. It's called the football field valuation. It uses traditional financial metrics to give a value to your business as if the market was just looking at it. What is this worth with EBITDA or profit multiples and revenue multiples? So very simple, very fast, but again, helpful for baseline evaluation. And then last but not least, what we call the great outcome. If you've ever done any of these exercises like Cameron Harold's Vivid Vision, Cameron's a friend of mine, it's a very similar process where you go 3 years into the future and you get incredibly clear on what life looks like as if you've achieved all of your goals and dreams over that time period, including how an exit may play into that if you indeed hope or want to exit in the next 3 years. So that gives us your goals and dreams. So these 3 exercises, again, a few hours in total. Set aside time, get started on them, drafting them, going through them. Make sure that you go through your exercises, take the proper time, and we'll look forward to seeing what you come up with.